I was surprised that I felt guilty saying no to sex when just not long before I had felt guilty saying yes, even to a wandering hand. I think I just felt like if I said no too much, I was selfish or cold, or Drew's eyes would wander. Sex became very much about meeting expectations and not about desire at all. I almost like to think of it as like I was violating my own consent system. Like when we were dating, I was saying no, 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 even though my heart and mind and body are saying yes. Like I'm with this man who I love and respect and trust and find super hot and just want to bang, to be honest. And then when we are married, in the moments that I was just mentally not there for whatever reason, and not because Drew was pressuring me, but because I think I was just pressuring myself. Like I thought something was wrong with me or wrong with our marriage if we weren't doing it enough. So it felt like sex is in these boxes of like, when it's premarital sex, it's like shut down altogether. But then postmarital, it's allowed and even commanded by God. And the boxes never involved me in the decision-making process at all. It's just like, this is how it is. This is what's expected. This is what's allowed.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 408. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a wonderful conversation with Carrie. Drew was supposed to join us as well, but he got held up at work, and so we get to hear their story through Carrie's perspective today.
Plus, I loved tricking everybody with the title of the episode. The old bait and switch. Gotcha.
Carrie and Drew are high school sweethearts who grew up pretty religious, with purity culture heavily influencing each of them and their partnership.
And today, they've been married for about 10 years, and a few years ago, they discovered that they each had an interest in exploring with others. So they did. I make that sound a whole lot easier than it was. And today, Carrie takes us through their experience as she shares with us how they ultimately decided that non-monogamy wasn't the best fit for them. But now they're finding new ways to explore within their partnership in ways that feel more aligned for each of them.
Thank you so much, Carrie and Drew, for coming on and sharing your story today. We're excited to get it out there. For anyone who's a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with Carrie and Drew now. And for anyone else, we're going to jump into our announcements.
First up, that premium subscription that Emma was just raving about is a way to skip these announcements up front. Oh, side note, we've got some like updates coming to the premium subscription.
We do.
Yeah, just wanted to tease you there.
In a few months.
That's all we're saying. There's things coming. Anyway, the premium subscription is currently a way to skip the announcements up front here. For just $4 a month, you can do that. You can find out all of the information over on the homepage of our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Scroll all the way down on the homepage and you'll see the information there where it says go premium or something clever like that. Oops, I just hit Emma's boob as I was using my hand motions.
Yes.
Yes. We're leaving that in. Anyway, so go sign up for the premium subscription and we'll see you over there. Emma, help.
Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about our community. We have a community of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We use a platform called Mighty Networks to host a community on, and we have monthly community calls, in-person retreats, and free monthly workshops. 2 of those things are coming up very, very soon.
Yeah, so get excited and get your ass in gear. First things first, our next monthly workshop.
Next week,
that's September 10th. It is called Playful Connections, Building Stronger Relationships Through the Joy of Play, with a friend of ours named Gary Ware. He is a strategic play consultant.
And was on the podcast.
He was on the podcast. So
years ago.
We'll link to that. He's an incredible human who just loves bringing joy to the world. So you do not want to miss that. And the other thing we've got coming up, oh, well, first of all, on those workshops, if you want to join those workshops, they're free for all of our community members. You can find out more information about how to join the community under the community tab of our website. And under that community tab, there's also a tab that talks about all of our workshops. So you can see what all of those have been. So you can go listen to the old recordings for free and what ones are coming up, which are also free. So there's a lot of free in there once you get in.
Also on the community page, you can find out information about our upcoming East Bay Community in-person retreat. So it's going to be in the East Bay of San Francisco, California, October 3rd to the 5th, 2025. You can come join us for the weekend. It's going to be amazing. We're going to have a hike, speed friending, a pool party, just lots of time to socialize and hang out.
Yeah, and members are also organizing their own activities. So we would love to have you come join us. Again, as Emma said, there's more information under the community tab of our website. But the best place to get information is to join the community for less than $8 a month over on our website.
Yes.
And next things next.
We wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. If you go over to the resources page of our website and use the links there, it saves you $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and you support the podcast. So thank you in advance for doing that. This is the service that Finn and I use. We've been using it for years. It is discreet and simple to use. And if we didn't love it, we wouldn't tell you about it every week.
Also, this is a great time of year to go and get tested, right? Summer is over or trying to be over.
Yeah.
Fall is rolling in.
Why not?
It's a great time to fire it up and get out there.
Get tested.
Get tested. I don't know. It's always a great time to get tested. I just thought I would try to put a little fall spin on it. It's pumpkin spice latte season.
Almost.
Yeah, you're gonna be I don't know why that's relevant, but it's a good idea to get tested for STIs before you start drinking your PSLs.
Oh, gosh.
That's what I say.
Oh, okay. We also wanted to remind you that
if you want to send us hate mail, you can do that over at
send us feedback or questions, or if you want to be a guest on the show.
Just like Carrie and Drew.
Yes. You can do that over on the Contact Us page of our website.
We would love to hear from you. We would love to have you come on the show. This show doesn't actually exist without people like you. Otherwise, it would just be Emma and me up here talking for an hour and me telling terrible jokes
about pumpkin spice lattes and touching my boob.
That's right. So, which, by the way, this is what the new premium subscription is going to be in a couple months. So, yeah, sign up now before you miss it. All right.
Now they confused them all.
Now that you're all thoroughly confused, we hope you enjoyed this wonderful conversation with Carrie and Drew.
Let's go.
Welcome to the podcast, Carrie. We're excited to chat today. Drew couldn't be here with us in person or in video, in virtual space.
Yeah, in virtual space.
But representing the two of you, we're excited to chat today. We're excited to hear a little more about your story and get to know you. So thank you for reaching out and for coming on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
We would love for you to start by introducing yourself at whatever level you feel comfortable.
Yeah, so I'm Carrie. My husband's name is Drew. We've been married about 10 years. We've actually been together since high school, so it's been a while.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah. And somewhere along the way, non-monogamy kind of came up for you two. We know very little about your story. So just for listeners out there, we don't always get a ton of background. We get an email and we're like, let's make it happen. So we're going to learn along with everybody else. So non-monogamy came into your world somewhere?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is summertime of 2023. So it's been a little while now. Kind of had a foray into the whole swinging situation. And I feel like we need background to kind of set the stage for what brought us there and why that was appealing to us.
Yes.
We both come from a pretty religious background and would probably even consider ourselves religious to this day, even, which I think is funny to be on a non-monogamy podcast saying that. But yeah, I had the whole abstinence-only sex ed programming, signed a purity promise in high school, all that kind of stuff. And then became pretty involved in a church when I was in college. I was on staff at that church actually for a year during my time at school. So I was like very involved there. And it's really a beautiful community. I loved so many things about it. They taught me to value vulnerability and honesty and togetherness and so many great things about it. And that's where I would say, like, I grew up religious, but that's kind of where faith became like important to me personally and had a lot of just maturation, I guess, in terms of faith at that church. But the beliefs I formed there about sex were very problematic. And I mean, I guess a lot of those beliefs also kind of started from like childhood and high school and all that stuff, but they really gained a lot of traction when I was at this church. And I just like totally bought into the whole vision. Like, sex is one man, it's one woman, it's only when you're married. And I've spent a lot of time now kind of like trying to piece through what the underlying messages were that I was soaking in while I was there. And I think there's so many layers to it. But I think overall, I just had this impression that like sex and respect were very intertwined. Like, women who sleep around are just doing it because they don't respect themselves. Men are always trying to get in women's pants, but they don't actually respect the women they're sleeping with. They would only respect a woman who chooses to wait. There's also a lot of messaging about porn being extremely dangerous, and it was kind of described as like very dehumanizing, degrading, addictive. And I mean, I think it can be all of those things, but there was no understanding that you could engage with it in any way that might be ethical or healthy or anything like that. So there's a lot of confusion around that. It caused some conversations between Drew and I that were not healthy, and me just kind of reiterating shame, towards him, and then assuming that I would never want to look at anything like that, is always preached like towards men.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just overall, there was just this imbalance of weight on sexual purity being like the key way to demonstrate your faith and like how seriously you take your faith and your scripture and all that stuff. So that really led to, I had a very true conviction that waiting for marriage was in my best interest and was going to be the right decision. And so I was like totally on board with that, totally happy to wait. And that's kind of how like all that premarital sex is like all this dangerous, messaging. But then it was interesting because the way they preached sex once you are married was like such the opposite side of the coin. Like, when you are married, sex is amazing and it's frequent, it's hot, and it's everything you've been waiting for. And there's actually a Bible verse in Corinthians that says not to deprive one another when you're married. And I think they thought that verse like made them sex positive, so they would preach it a lot in sermons about marriage and stuff. I remember one sermon, they were like, okay, married people, like if you're tired, you have a headache, just take Tylenol, you got to get to it. And I think they thought that was them being sex positive, but to me, and I mean, of course they were joking, they're like not 100% serious, but it did just create the tone that like there are expectations, there are requirements when it comes to sex and marriage. And I definitely see now how that contrast between premarital and postmarital sex is like very jarring and very stark. I think it kind of leads to this like ideal Christian woman as being like a lady in the street, but a freak in the bed, like somehow chaste, yet also super hot and horny for her husband, but only him, and it has to be a man. And so there's
somehow
just
you have to be good at it like day one because you haven't learned about it, you haven't practiced it, you don't get to talk about it. So you get married, and that night you're just supposed to like turn it on.
You're ready to
somehow.
go.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of the dichotomy that we both had the whole time we were dating. And like I said, we were dating since high school, and then we actually went to different colleges. So we didn't see each other. We saw each other probably once or twice a month. Our schools weren't like super far apart, but when we did see each other, there was a lot of passion. And we're still basically teenagers at this point. We're like 19, 20, 21. I just remember having like Olympic makeout sessions where we would just make out for what felt like hours, just hoping one of us would let a hand wander and like end up somewhere it wasn't supposed to go. And that did happen. But for the most part, we managed to keep it together. We didn't have sex or even get close to penetrative sex until we were married, which is kind of crazy. And then we did get married like a couple weeks after I graduated from undergrad. We just got married right away. And our wedding night was actually really sweet and wonderful. it's definitely a special memory. And we had a lot of good sex, I would say, in the beginning. But then I started to find that it was harder and harder to get in the mood. And my sex drive was just kind of decreasing slowly. I was surprised that I felt guilty saying no to sex when just not long before I had felt guilty saying yes, even to a wandering hand. I think I just felt like if I said no too much, I was selfish or cold, or Drew's eyes would wander. Sex became very much about meeting expectations and not about desire at all. I almost like to think of it as like I was violating my own consent system. Like when we were dating, I was saying no, 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 even though my heart and mind and body are saying yes. Like I'm with this man who I love and respect and trust and find super hot and just want to bang, to be honest. And then when we are married, in the moments that I was just mentally not there for whatever reason, and not because Drew was pressuring me, but because I think I was just pressuring myself. Like I thought something was wrong with me or wrong with our marriage if we weren't doing it enough. Felt like sex is in these boxes of like, when it's premarital sex, it's like shut down altogether. But then postmarital, it's allowed and even commanded by God. And the boxes never involved me in the decision-making process at all. It's just like, this is how it is. This is what's expected. This is what's allowed. Sermons aren't asking like, what do you want? What do you like? How do you talk about that with your partner? What happens if you want different things? And how does it all make you feel? And that the boxes are just not erotic. Like they don't leave room for risk and playfulness and possibility and all those things that are key ingredients of eroticism. So my
it keeps it very structured.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like it's more functional, right, than anything,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Emma and I were actually just talking about this the other night about the whole the purity culture and religion growing up. We both grew up with a little bit of it, and it's like, you grow up and it's like, don't have sex, don't have sex, don't have sex. And then you get married and it's like, where's your kids? When are you going to have kids? When are the kids
Right.
coming? And you're like, Jesus, like I've just been told my whole life not to do this thing. And now you're like expecting, an output from it. So it's wild.
Yeah. That switch is, incredibly challenging. You go, as you said, you kind of like almost were, I'm trying to remember the language you use, but basically like violating your own consent around, it was a no, 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 even though I wanted it. And then after it was like expected. And I'm like, now I have to get myself in the mood no matter what. And it's, where is the consent in that?
Yeah. And I think it's just, I've talked to so many friends who are like, oh, I just haven't been wanting to do it lately. I need to get better at this. I need to make myself just kind of white knuckle it. And it's like, that doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like a yes, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well,
No.
right. And I know Drew's not necessarily here to speak for himself, but I have to imagine, right? I can say for myself, that's not what you want your partner to be showing up with, right? This feeling of like obligation or, you have a pounding headache, but just throw down a couple ibuprofen and let's get it on. Like that's not, that's not what I think really anybody is wanting. And so, I was curious for, again, not necessarily speaking for Drew, but, was he sort of on the same page with you through this, or was he more going along with it to sort of match where you were at?
Yeah, we definitely both had similar upbringing, similar paradigms about sex. A lot of that purity culture messaging definitely hit us differently with him being a man and me being a woman.
Totally.
I think if he were here, he would probably say like every Bible study he ever had was at the end, there would be like a confession time. And the only thing people would talk about is, oh, I looked at porn. Like I'm awful. I'm terrible. So I think just a lot of shame wrapped up in that. And that caused a lot of tough conversations between the two of us, because then here I am on the other side thinking, oh, you looked at porn. That means you hate women. You don't think I'm even a human being. Like, how can I move on from this in our relationship? So then I'm just like reiterating all of that shame. So yeah, we definitely had a lot of the same messaging, but just different points of emphasis.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine that that plays into if I'm not putting out like I should be as a good wife does, of course the eyes are going to wander. I mean, he's already looking at
Mm-hmm.
porn, so what's to stop him from looking somewhere else, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not fulfilling the needs that I'm supposed to be fulfilling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. A
Yeah.
lot there.
There's a lot
Yeah.
there.
And so you shared that your libido started to decrease. And what happened then?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was honestly a lot of the years of our marriage because I was on birth control before we got married. I thought that was maybe part of what was causing the decrease. So I went off of it. And I do think that helped. Then we were doing the natural family planning method and got pregnant pretty quickly. It did not work. We were pretty surprised about that, but we were excited. But then I had all of the pregnancy hormones and then breastfeeding. And then after that, we were like, we're definitely getting back on birth control because natural family planning does not work. And I've always been scared to get an IUD. So I just liked the idea of birth control. So went back on that and then had another kid. So for a lot of years of our marriage, the hormones were probably not in my favor either. But I think I wasn't able to quite see the disconnection between myself and my sexuality. I didn't feel like it was something I could participate in. It was for me. It was for Drew or for God or for I don't know what, but definitely not for me. But when we decided not to have any more kids, I wasn't pregnant, wasn't breastfeeding anymore. Drew got a vasectomy, so I wasn't on birth control anymore. And I did find that my sex drive was slowly coming back, not like it was back to, booming like we were in college when we weren't allowed to be doing anything. There is something about the forbiddenness of it that I think makes
For sure.
makes it way higher. But so it wasn't back to that point or anything, but it was definitely increasing. And around that same time, I heard some rumors from churches we had been a part of in various places we'd lived in the past that I probably shouldn't make any judgments about because I really don't know all the details, but I just didn't like the things I was hearing. And I think that kind of served to put cracks in my trust that the church always knows what it's doing. I mean, and we're still part of a church to this day. I love and respect the church, not one that preaches this kind of stuff, don't worry. We've definitely changed types of churches, but I started becoming open to the idea that the church can get it wrong sometimes and that there are perspectives that are different than the ones I'd always had that could also be viable. So I'm kind of in this process of questioning everything. My sex drive is increasing a little bit when I come across this Instagram account that's run by a sex therapist and it's geared toward queer people. And I just find myself gravitating to this platform. I'm like voraciously reading all of their posts. They are talking about sex like it's a choose your own adventure, like it's about collaborating and playing and exploring and communicating. The posts, I was so struck by how the posts were not bossy. Like they included questions. I would say like, here's some suggestions about XYZ sexual activity. And then it would ask the reader, how do you feel about this? Are you interested? If not, totally cool. If you are, also totally cool. And I just remember feeling like, wow, I get to have feelings and preferences. Like I was just so drawn to that approach. And I've thought a little bit about it. I don't think I am even queer, but this queer approach to sex and I think queerness in general has been so instrumental in unraveling the purity culture impact in my life. And I'm just so thankful that queerness exists in the world. So yeah.
I love that, and I think you just touching on some of this that, we have a lot of people who come on the show that are recovering from some religion or another, and
Mm-hmm.
and I think to just paint all religion as bad, like you said, I don't think that's the case, and I think it's the people who run these churches, they're humans just like us, and
Mm-hmm.
we could go down, we could spend the next 5 hours listing off all of the things that people who run these churches have done that do not align with the values that they preach, right? And so it's
Mm-hmm.
just remembering that these are people too, and I think
Yeah.
it sounds like you found other churches and communities and groups that you can be a part of that are maybe more aligned with your belief system, and I love
Mm-hmm.
that. And I was also curious, as you and Drew were sort of navigating the first couple of years of your, I guess your sort of sexual relationship, were you two able to like explore and research and do that in a collaborative way between the two of you? Or did a lot of those church sort of sermon mentality of like, this is the way to do it, just go do it, did that sort of guide you? Or I'm just curious what the
Yeah.
collaborative process between you and Drew was as you started to explore sex and pleasure and intimacy together.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. We definitely had, I don't want to make it sound like I never wanted to have sex ever or like I
Sure.
hated it all the time, because we did, I think, have some really, really sweet moments, really hot moments. And then as the libido is decreasing a little bit, we would try to collaborate and talk about like, how can we work through this together? What are some ways that we can, I don't know if spice it up is the right word,
Mhm.
but and Drew would be like, "Well, what about all the lingerie you got at your lingerie shower? Like, why don't you try putting that on?" And I don't know what, when I had my lingerie shower, I was like so excited about it and had so much fun trying on all the different stuff. And then I never wanted to wear it afterwards. I think because it did just feel like it was like a performative thing or something, where beforehand it felt like I was just doing it because I wanted to get all this lingerie. I'm about to get married, so excited. And then yeah, we did talk about lingerie and maybe getting a vibrator, and there was collaboration and working on it. But I think all of that came from this mindset that like, I have to be having sex. I have to figure out how to make this happen. So that, I think, kind of colored all of the collaboration we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like it was more like mission focused rather than
Mhm.
like for fun, right? Like
Mhm.
almost
Mhm.
like I'm failing
Mhm.
as a wife, as a sexual being. Let's fix it.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes sense to me why, in some ways, you were really excited to get all the lingerie. And then you're like, I don't really want to wear this. Because look at what you were taught around sex. Like, you're supposed to flip a
Mhm.
switch and just want it. So, like, I'm going to put all this stuff on and it's going to make me feel sexy. And then I'm going to want, like it's allowed. But I wasn't allowed that before. And so I feel
Yeah.
like there's so many uh
The mixed signals.
messaging.
Yeah.
Yeah, the messaging is mixed and I'm
Mhm.
imagining that there's a part of you that attached like a negative or a hard piece of around sex to that lingerie of some
Yeah.
sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. This Instagram account, though, while all of
Yeah.
this is brewing, I'm like questioning, opening my mind to other ideas and stuff. My sex drive is increasing a little bit, and then this Instagram dropped a yes, no, maybe list, which I think is so helpful, and I think everyone should probably do it, whether you're dating or single or no matter where you're at. But we filled that out together, and I felt like that was the start of truly collaborating together and exploring and like actually kind of tapping into my own sexuality. And I think for Drew too, he always felt like if I'm attracted to anyone other than my wife, like that's bad, I'm bad, something's wrong with me. And then we do this yes, no, maybe list. And it was actually super fun to just, I don't know, I guess just all this being open to other ideas and being a little bit disillusioned with the church just allowed me to go into that exercise genuinely and not with a guard up. I think Drew is in a similar place. So we filled out the questionnaire separately and then came back together to compare answers. And there was a non-monogamy section on there with questions like, are you open to casual sex with other people, falling in love with other people, threesomes, all kinds of things. And we compared our answers and found that we both had some interest in this area. And of course, we were still doing this theoretically,
Yep.
not like we were going to actually act on anything. But it was funny how both of our answers were the same. So that kicked off just so much talking. I think one of the strengths of our relationship is that we are really great communicators. Drew is very emotionally intelligent and attuned. And so it's just easy for us to talk really probably too much about stuff like this. So we were just talking constantly. did a lot of hypotheticals that became more and more specific. And then I think through all of this talking, I realized that I really liked the idea of him seeing me kiss another man. And I also liked the idea of seeing him kiss another woman, which was very surprising to me. But there was just, I don't know, the idea of seeing his sexuality from an outside perspective rather than being with him myself was really intriguing. And there was something about him seeing me with someone else that was just, I don't know, sexy, just made me think like if he could be a little bit jealous for me, that whole thing, that whole idea kind of turned me on. So as we were talking, we were like, I think it seems like our interest is more towards swinging. Like, that's kind of crazy. I never thought I would say something like that. And we just couldn't stop talking about it. And so eventually one of us is like, okay, we need to put this to rest or do something about it because we need to just stop constantly talking about this. So that's when we downloaded Field for the first time. And I thought that Field would have lots of just spam profiles. And I mean, I had no idea what to expect. And there was a little bit of that, but it was a lot of seemingly very nice people on there. We were just chatting. It was kind of fun to see Drew flirting with people and messaging people. And I mean, we had been together since high school, so we never really got to experience a lot of that stuff. And it was kind of fun seeing him do that and getting to do it myself. And then
this was about 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, so that was maybe spring or summer of 2023. And yeah, so Drew got connected with this couple. We'll call them Scott and Kira. And then we ended up in a group chat and made plans to meet up. And this was still unexpected. I was still telling myself at this point, we're not really going to meet anyone. I'm just curious. I've always been a very curious person. I was like, I'm just downloading this app to see what it's like and how it works. I'm just curious. I'm not going to do anything. You know, wouldn't it be crazy if we saw our neighbors on there? You know, I'm just thinking of it that way. And then here I am in a group chat with this other couple making plans to meet up. And so the first meetup, I think, was just kind of the vibe check, make sure no one is secretly unhinged. Nothing happened at that first meetup. And then we just kept texting and the group text got a little flirtier. And then we decided to go on a second date with them. And the second date was just drinks and dinner, and it was super fun, very easy, natural. And then at the end of it, Scott was like, so do you guys want to come back with us? And we got so lucky with this couple. Like I could have seen us being friends with them in just a vanilla way, like going to brunch or playing board games where no one's getting naked at the end. And they had a little bit of experience in the lifestyle world, but we had absolutely zero. So even though they didn't have a ton of experience, I still felt like such a newbie compared to them. But they were very just patient and kind and respectful.
Had you and Drew discussed, had you discussed that you might actually go through with this, or were you both still in this world of we're just seeing what it's like? Because I mean, we've been in many of these situations where we're going out to dinner with people and we're sitting in the car like, what are we doing? Are we really doing this? And like the lead up for us was pretty like drawn out, where we were like trying to really learn about it. Like, I'm just curious. Two people who are kind of like, seems like you were just like, it was sort of bedroom talk for a while. And then one day you're like, well, we're on Field now. What was the build up to it?
Yeah. I think after the first meetup, the fact that we kept texting them at some point in there, I realized that there was a chance that this was actually going to happen. And I wasn't 100% sure about that, but I think that's where I started to realize that it was a possibility. And that is where there is so much eroticism, to be texting someone and not really knowing where it's going to go or what's going to happen. What are they thinking? What am I thinking? What is Drew thinking? All of that was like very exciting. And I think I felt each step of the way like I didn't know if I was ready to fully jump in, but I kept knowing that I was ready to take one more baby step. Like, I'm still going to text them today. Okay, we're going to go have a beer. We're going to, And so we went on this second date, and then it finally does come down to the moment where it's like, okay, do you guys want to come home with us? And they were so nice. They were like, well, we're going to go outside. We'll give you 2 minutes to talk, just see how you feel. So we talked for a second. Drew was like, I think we should just go for it. Like, we've gotten this far. Like, what are we, we've been talking about this for months now. I went to the bathroom for a second to just like be alone, check in with myself, see how I was feeling. And I do remember just being in that bathroom, feeling like I was about to jump off a cliff and had no idea what was below me, totally aware that it was potentially going to go terribly. But I remember just feeling so excited about the idea of charting my own course for the first time and this is the first time I'm doing anything that's off script, sexually speaking, from like the Christian script I had been given. And something about that was just deeply exciting and just felt right. Just like to actively engage with my own desire and with Drew's and with these two people we're about to go to bed with and talk about all of that honestly was like so exhilarating. So yeah, we decide that we want to go for it. So we go outside the bar, they're waiting for us. We tell them we want to give it a whirl. And I definitely made it known that I was pretty nervous. And I was like, there's a solid chance I might change my mind. Like, is that okay? And they were just really patient. They were like, you can change your mind at any point. Like, it's totally fine. And Scott had suggested, he was like, why don't we just start out with some same room parallel play, like just a good way to ease in, which felt a lot more approachable to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think with all of that, I felt comfortable moving forward. So we go back to their place. We have one more drink. Drew and I have no idea how to get things started in this situation. We're just completely following their lead. Like, what do we do? Like, we're just chatting over drinks. How do we kind of make that jump to like sexy time? Which I'm sure everyone in this situation has to just go through that awkward moment.
I'm just going to interject and say, having done this enough times, it's never gotten easier for me. I don't know. I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know. It's awkward for me no matter what. So it's fun. It's fun hearing about it for the first time. I don't know. It kind of takes me back a bit. So
yeah. It's interesting to hear that it doesn't change. Like with every
it might change for other
experience.
people, but my awkwardness doesn't seem to wane. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, the way they dove into it was they just kind of started kissing. So then we started kissing. It felt very much like Simon Says kind of thing. So they started kissing. We started kissing. Some clothes started coming off. And then we migrated up to the bedroom and officially commenced the parallel play session. And it was super fun. I found it very hot. I know Drew did. It was also just weird to like be doing that for the first time. Especially as someone who's never even really looked at porn or anything, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah. And I think as fun as it was, it also served to kind of demystify things a little bit. Like, there's just this couple having sex right next to us and the sky's not falling. Like, life is going on. It's not like it is crazy, but it's also not crazy, if that makes sense.
Yes,
it just is.
It normalizes it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So overall, it was a positive experience, and it was fun afterwards, kind of texting with them about it and everyone being like, oh, that was so fun. That was super hot. And then the next day, I remember going for a jog and just reflecting on the previous night, was kind of thinking about stuff. And somewhere out in the middle of the trail, I just felt tears welling up, which was so unexpected and kind of not the reaction I would have anticipated. But I think it felt like there was just something healing inside me, like this, like I just felt connected to myself and to my body, to my sexuality. I don't know. That was something, I was like connecting to something that I feel like had been maybe withheld for a long time or wasn't allowed for a long time. I had this sense of dignity, like that word dignity kept coming up. Like, I get to be an agent in my own body and in my own sexuality. And this is such a crazy thing to say, but I even felt like it was a holy moment. Like, God was with me and was helping me to recognize in myself, like, the imago Dei, what Christians call the image of God. Like, God made me as an agent and I get to participate in my own body and in my own sexuality. And I'm not just like a good little Christian girl in a box. Like, I get to be a human too and make decisions about myself and the world around me. And I think as I recognized that, in myself. I recognize it more and more in others. Like, everyone's a human, everyone is messy, and no one's simple, no one's perfect, but that's all very holy to me. So that was definitely an unexpected reaction that I had while I was just like jogging on the running trail.
Yeah, that's
So, yeah.
huge.
Yeah. I love that. I love the being able to reframe some of that, like reframe
Mhm.
some of what you grew up with into a way that gives you the agency back that you didn't really have for so long.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool. So I could see that there was definitely a lot there, and I was very eager to keep exploring it. Drew and I talked about what our next steps might be, and he was more open to jumping into a soft swap after that. I was still pretty hesitant and was like only comfortable with kissing, maybe a little second base action, was not able to do anything below the belt at that point. I mean, this is all so new and so beyond the parameters I ever thought I would cross. I just
Yeah.
couldn't do
Totally.
more than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were and still are like you're relearning and
Mhm.
deconditioning yourself too from
Uh-huh.
all of the things that you've been taught for years and years and years and years. So you haven't
Yeah.
learned any other way until these. So I'm glad that you were taking baby steps.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Drew understood and agreed to stick to that boundary level, even though he maybe would have had a different level that he felt comfortable with. So a few weeks later, we met up with Kira and Scott again. We grabbed dinner. And then we're sitting on this balcony on a really pretty summer night. And Scott just asks, what are the boundaries for the night? Which I think it could have been easy to let things drift into sexy territory without discussing it, just because you don't want to ruin the mood. But it really, I think, enhanced the mood for me to just make that space for communication. And I think that's like something that could be awkward, but didn't have to be, and actually
Yeah.
really wasn't. So they indicated that they were up for soft swap, and then they asked how we were feeling, and I said I wanted to do a little kissing, maybe a little handsiness, but didn't want to do anything even soft swap, and they were fine with that. So we went back and just continued hanging out. We were listening to music, chatting on the bed, and then things started to a little bit more naturally this time shift. And Kira and Scott are making out. Drew and I are making out. Clothes start to come off. And then I knew it wasn't going to be strictly parallel this time. So I'm like nervous to even look in Scott's direction. So I'm like, what's going to happen if I look at him? And then I finally worked up the nerve to look over at him, and I just started kissing him. And that was the first time I had kissed anyone other than Drew in like over a decade. It's also the first time I've been naked with any man other than Drew, I guess, unless you count the parallel experience. So it's this very exhilarating moment. And then I look over and see that Drew is kissing Kira. And it was that perfect level of like juicy jealousy. Like, I guess I was jealous, but it was a positive jealousy. It like fueled the fire. They looked really hot. It didn't throw me off. I definitely really liked it. But then I noticed pretty quickly that Kira's hand was drifting south on Drew. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, wow, I did not choose my words wisely. I totally see how handsiness, like, I don't know why I chose that word, like I'm in middle school. I totally see how that translates to touching him, but that's not what I meant. And I'm just thinking Drew will probably like politely kind of move her hand, and she'll get the picture that we're back in the boundary zone that I kind of felt comfortable with. But then I look over a minute later and see that Drew's actually touching her too. And that really wigged me out. I was, for a split second, was like, I don't know if I can continue with this. And I don't blame Kira at all. I think it was on me that I didn't communicate specifically enough. I think that was definitely a lesson learned, that you have to be specific and very clear about what you're saying. But Drew definitely knew what the boundaries were. I mean, we had talked about it ad nauseum. So yeah, for a second, I'm like, I don't know if I can keep going. I feel I'm so mad at him. But then I also knew that he had a lot of pent up, like, sexual energy and confusion. And I think there was also just like a practical mix up. Like, he saw that I saw that she was touching him and I didn't stop it. And I think in his head, he was like, oh, maybe she's actually okay with this. because we had talked about that possible scenario too. And at one point I was like, maybe I could be okay with that. So there was that. But then on the deeper level, there was also just a lot of like repressed energy, I think, and being in this new situation that he and I have never been in before. And this woman who's clearly interested in doing these things with him, I think he just felt like he needed to seize the moment, and kind of happened like before he even really knew what he was doing. So I am lucky that the way things kind of worked out, Drew and I came back together, and Scott and Kira were on the other side of the bed doing their own thing. And I was able to kind of whisper to him like, hey, I thought we agreed not to do that. And he's like, you're right. I'm sorry. I don't know what happened. And so I think something about just that little bit of connection allowed me to just file it away. Like, we'll talk about this later. We're back within the zone that I am comfortable with. And the rest of the night was very fun, even though that little hiccup had happened. I mean, we had very mild boundaries, but they did not feel mild to me. I'm having sex with my husband while I'm leaning over to make out with another man whose partner's going down on him. And I'm like going down on Drew while he's kissing another woman. I mean, I know this is like a very casual Tuesday night for so many people who listen to this podcast, but to me, it felt so novel and exciting. And it was just so fun. It was definitely a very positive memory, even though the hiccup happened.
Yeah. I just want to say too that like, I don't think it is a casual Tuesday night I mean, even for us, doing this 15, almost 20 years, right? I think every time we went into these situations, I remember excitement and that sort of those butterflies of like, yeah, will it, won't it? What's going to happen? What's it going to be like? What are they going to be like? What are we going to be like? So and I think to your point as well around, the communication and where the boundaries and limits were, and then they get crossed. Like, it can be really easy to sit on the outside of these and say, well, of course he knew, or of course they knew. Why would you even? But when you're in those situations, there's like so much happening that it's not easy to keep it all straight or to navigate that. So I mean, I'm sure there are some people who are like, oh my gosh, that sounds lame. But I feel like for most of us, it's exciting and it's fun and it's new. And I don't know. I love that. I don't know.
I don't think it matters if people listening think it's lame either.
I don't either. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
They could think anything is lame and that's their own opinion.
That's right. That's right.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah.
And
one of my...
I want to hear what you're going to say, but like,
no, go ahead.
What I love about what you shared is like the excitement and the novelty and the healing, honestly, that was happening in that comes across in your story. And I don't know, just that alone is huge. It doesn't matter what the actual activity was.
Totally. Well, yeah, like you said, it's the first time you'd been naked with another man. It's the first time another man had touched your body and these types of ways. So those are huge. I mean, those are foundational moments in our lives. So I think it's a beautiful story.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
As I've kind of looked back on it more, there's a couple other moments that have stuck out. And one of them was actually he just asked straight up if he could touch me, which I appreciated that he asked. And I was definitely very flustered and kind of caught off guard in the moment and kind of managed to awkwardly say that, no, I wasn't up for that. And he did not miss a beat. He just nodded, said okay, kept kissing me, kept his hands on my back, on my hips, was still very much like enjoying the moment and present without pushing for more. And something about that really landed with me. It was, such a small thing, but he received a no, not like it was a speed bump or a buzzkill, but just like, it is what it is. What you say is fine. And in that moment, I was not doing the whole rigmarole in my head like I had been before getting married. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this, but I want to, but what should I do? Or after getting married, like, oh, I know I need to be doing this, but I don't want to. What should I do? I was just saying exactly what I wanted. Like, I do want this and I don't want that. And to have that be met with respect and without having to explain myself, just no questions asked, was like, I just wasn't thinking about disappointing anyone or doing all of that rigmarole in my head. I was just saying exactly what I wanted. And that also is a moment that sticks out to me, kind of like a random moment that's not necessarily sexy, but it was really meaningful to me, and I think was another healing moment in the whole journey.
I will offer that I think that is incredibly a sexy moment.
Yes, you're right.
in my experience, because it helps when something like that, where you can say a no to whatever is being asked, and it be celebrated in that moment of it doesn't matter. I'll meet you here. I'll be respectful. I'm going to meet you here. And that, no, we're going to have fun no matter what. That is sexy because it helps you feel safe. It makes you feel safe.
It does. Yeah. And just the element of not having to explain myself. Like, Drew had never asked me to explain myself, but I felt the need to, like in my own head, I felt all of that pressure from my background that I have to have a good reason to say no and yada, yada. And so to just say, I'm like, I really shouldn't be doing this in the first place. So saying no to one thing is like totally fine. I didn't feel guilty saying no. Yeah, there was just something about that was really cool.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in the following days after that, we started the work of just unpacking all of those things and what all of that meant to us and all the different, in those very early moments after an experience, all the like emotions that are flying around and thoughts, and you don't exactly know how you feel or what you feel. And so unfortunately, that boundary crossing was very difficult for me to move on from. I mean, I was 17 when I started dating Drew. I had never thought we would do anything beyond, really any of this, not even kiss anyone else. And even in all of our discussions about it, the fact that he felt comfortable doing things more than what I was comfortable with was hard for me to swallow. So then to see him like actually cross a boundary and do it in real life was just really hard for me. I'm a little ashamed to. I felt like I was making a mountain out of a molehill. Like, he touched her for probably 10 seconds. Like, why can't I just move on from that? And he did so much self-reflection and was like, how did that happen? And why did it happen? And we did so much talking about it, and he was really great about it. But it was just really, really difficult to move on from. I think so much of my identity had been built around sexual purity. Like, I was the girl in my sorority who was waiting for marriage. Like, that was kind of the thing that set me apart. Like, it was my badge of worthiness, like a secret sauce that made me worthy of respect, not only from Drew, but from the world, from myself, from God. And so to unravel the strands of those beliefs was very liberating, but also very scary. It felt really good to recognize that I am worthy of respect for so many other reasons, but also it is scary, and it is just disorienting, I think would be the word. So yeah, that was really tough. I think purity culture had taught me that my sexual self was the most valuable thing I could offer a spouse, and then to see Drew be interested in someone else's sexual self in such a casual way. I don't know why kissing someone else just really didn't bother me, but like actually being sexual with someone else felt like another level that kind of infringed on that identity piece of mine that had been built from purity culture. I thought that meant Drew would maybe get bored of me, that I was replaceable, that I was disposable. Like, if this most valuable piece of myself is something that can just be done with anyone that you don't know that well, what does that say about our connection, if that makes sense? I feel like I'm just rambling now, but...
No, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes total sense in general, but when you add in your history and the purity culture and all of that, it makes extra sense. Like, I think these are things that many of us struggle with in non-monogamy all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of fear coming up, also a lot of joy, just so many like equal and opposite emotions that was really hard to know what to do with.
Yeah.
It was like pulling a thread on a sweater and then realizing the thread's attached to the whole sweater. And I don't want to unravel the whole sweater. There are some elements of my belief system about sex that I do like. I think there is for me personally, I know it's different for everyone, but for me, I feel like there is an element of magic to the fact that we are the only ones that get to experience each other's sexual selves fully. But then at the same time, I'm like, but this is also super fun. And I totally see why someone else might feel differently and why Drew might feel differently and why he might have different boundaries. And so it just felt very much like a hodgepodge of emotions and thoughts and beliefs and feelings that were kind of like exploding all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was kind of in this strange in-between place for a while where I really wanted to keep hanging out with them, but also wasn't sure if I could handle all the negative emotions that were coming up alongside all the good ones. I did still feel like I had some exploring and healing to do, but just didn't know if I could handle it. I'd have these moments where I would think about the boundary crossing and then would be like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I need to go talk to Drew. We've got to shut this down. And then the next second, my brain would be like, but then you don't get to have any more foursomes. And I'd be like, oh, shoot, you're right. We got to keep doing this. It was just a lot of inner conflict.
Yeah. Which makes sense. Again, you're undoing so much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And looking back, I think this dynamic really shut down Drew's ability to fully make meaning of the journey for himself. Because I had so much going on, it felt like he was more along for my ride and he was spending a lot of time reassuring me. I was doing all this processing. And like I said, he's very emotionally attuned. So he was totally like there and engaged for all of the processing that I was doing. And I don't think he quite had the emotional space to process it for himself. So even to this day, I would really like to find a way to kind of revisit that time in our lives and have him have a little bit more space to just like, I think he should, maybe it's good that he wasn't able to come tonight because I feel like he should do his own interview where he says all of it from his own perspective. Because I think there is an element of him that hasn't even fully tapped into what it all meant for him. And I would really like for him to be able to do that one day. And Scott and Kira have no idea about all these layers playing out. I don't know if this has happened to you guys, if there's ever been a scenario where it like didn't go well for one of you, but you're still talking to them like everything's totally fine and you haven't fully revealed to the other couple. So we're just like continuing to text as if nothing's wrong because I hadn't decided if I wanted to stop or not. So hopefully we did a good job playing it cool and acting like everything was totally normal. But on the inside, I'm like, am I evolving or am I spiraling? I don't know. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
So we did eventually squeeze in one more date with them and it was really fun. We had another hookup. No boundaries were crossed this time. I think it was good to have our last hurrah with them without any issues. It was just a completely positive experience. So that was really fun, but it did become clear that the amount of energy it required for me to stay regulated around this was just too great to be able to keep going. I think even if I had had zero interest issues with it, it was just even maintaining the group chat and like we were still messaging other people on field from time to time, trying to get babysitters and all that stuff was just a lot to coordinate. And I felt like I was being distracted from work and I don't know, it is a lot. I think I'm more of a small plate person that can't necessarily handle that many balls in the air. So we eventually told them that was the end of the summer of 2023 that we wanted to step back and they were super understanding. And we just kind of closed it back up and we were like, that was a wild and fun and hard chapter. And we're just going to put that on the shelf for now. And since then, I've had some time and space to kind of not be as like actively involved in the moment thinking about it. And so now that I have had that time and space, I think I've realized that it was super healing and I'm so thankful for those experiences. But maybe that there is something about monogamy that for me feels like there's just this rhythm and intimacy, although it's not the only way you can have intimacy, that for me just feels like a good fit. but I think I can make that decision now from a point of view that appreciates all the other ways that you can build intimacy and have fun and excitement and joy and sexuality. And it doesn't, because for a while I felt, I think, a little bit of shame about that. Like, I set out on this journey to go beyond the boxes that purity culture put me in, and then I wind up in a heterosexual monogamous marriage. It kind of felt like landing back at square one. But I don't think it is square one, because now, like I said, we're making this decision for ourselves and not because it's the only way that we thought was available to us, and can appreciate all of the great things that experience did bring up for us and all the healing it gave us. So that's kind of where we're at now.
Yeah, I love that. I know, you say like, well, we're back at square one, but I feel like it's throughout the story.
Not really.
No, not even at all, I think. Right? Like maybe you might be physically standing at the same square, but like two completely different people, right? Like you just described so many changes and so many experiences that you've had. Experiences saying no, experiences speaking up for yourself, charting your own path, just a endless list of ways that you've experienced life in the last couple of years that you hadn't when you were at square one the first time. So I don't know from where I see it, like it feels like like what a great way to go explore, figure some stuff out for yourself, have some experiences with Drew, meet some other people, and then, like you said, make sort of an informed decision about where you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've tried to toy with the idea of still incorporating some degree of maybe not necessarily non-monogamy, but the whole exhibitionism, voyeurism thing still feels like attainable to me and not super scary. I don't think it would take a lot of emotional energy to stay regulated with that, and could be a good way to still feel like we're outside of those boxes and embodying like this newfound sense of sexuality without doing something that makes life really hard when we're constantly talking about this and thinking about it. But it has been hard to find a good way to practice that. There's a lot of different clubs, but none of them are super close to us. So we thought about maybe finding a club. There is like a house party scene that's near us. And we went, I think, in March to that for the first time. And it just felt like not the environment I would have chosen. It felt like there was a lot of just like very conventionally hot women pictures on the wall and like almost hypersexualized. And I guess that makes sense because it's a sexual thing, but it felt gross to me for some reason. I hate to say that 'cause for some people, I'm sure it's great and I'm happy for them, but I don't know. It wasn't quite the right environment for me. So I don't know exactly how we're going to take steps in that direction, but I would still like to incorporate that into our sex life. It's just hard to find.
Yeah.
Totally.
And you have to be patient with what feels right. Like you went to the club or to the house party in March. You tried it and it wasn't the vibe. So, next time around, maybe something else will feel a little different, or you keep trying depending if you want to. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also it sounds like that you and Drew, again, coming back to this, being back at square one, like it sounds like you're having different conversations in different ways about yourselves and your sexuality, and you've learned so much about each other. And it just seems like it was such a great growing and learning opportunity for the two of you. I'm curious, like now a year or two after that, how do you feel about your partnership? Like, does it feel like these experiences brought you closer together, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. We've definitely had a lot of ups and downs. And I think there were moments where it felt like, I don't think there were really moments where I wondered if we would make it, but where it felt like, I wonder if our joy together will make it. Like, I think we both have a pretty fierce commitment to one another. But you can't manufacture joy together. And for a while, those conversations were really, really hard, and we felt very disconnected. And it felt like, I guess, I don't know how we're going to make it back to one another. But I think going through so many of those conversations and finally coming into the clear where we did make it back to each other does make me feel stronger as a couple, and that there's like nothing we can't talk about and figure out together and navigate together, and just having space from it where it's not something we're talking about quite so often and like upset about quite so often. I do feel like we've gotten back to that place of being able to enjoy each other. There are even still times where it'll come up and it still can be a sensitive topic depending on what we choose to say about it. But it is, I think, no matter what partnership you're in, there's going to be maybe some unsolvable questions or some times where you just see things differently. And I don't think it exists a partnership where that is not the case. So I think there is a little bit of value in having different perspectives and different takes on a situation, and then just still choosing to love each other, even if you don't fully get on the exact same page, you know?
Yeah.
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 We know. Oh, we know.
Yep.
I also wanted to just validate what you kind of said about, the amount of time that goes into finding babysitters and finding people, having the conversations, keeping the chats going. It's trying to
So
balance
much
that
energy.
with your work, and then it's the conversations after. How did that go? What was it like? Okay,
Right.
there was a rupture. Now we have to repair, and maybe that's weeks or even months of conversations, depending on what happened. And like you said, you could be having a great day, and somebody brings it up, or something reminds you, and all of a sudden now you're in like a hard spot. Trying to navigate, and so to just sort of gloss over that, I think I think it's important not to really gloss over how much energy goes into creating these types of experiences, even,
Yeah.
even casually with people you're seeing every couple of weeks, or for some casual fun. Like it's not casual for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. I really appreciate everything that you've shared today, and that you wanted to come on and share your story. I think it's really powerful, and I really
So
appreciate.
powerful. Yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
And
Yeah, thank you
thank
for
you,
having
Drew.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you feel like you wanted to get out there today?
I don't think so. I kind of was reading through my notes as I was chatting, and I think I kind of got through everything. So thank you for letting me share all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for coming on. And you kind of threw out there like maybe Drew will want to come on. Well, he's always welcome if Drew wants to come on and share Drew's side of this. So we would love that. And
Yeah.
I think too, to even, offer at some point in the future, if you or both of you want to come back on to share, where you're at, because I think these stories, we've had a few where people come on and talk about, I tried non-monogamy in some way, shape, or form, and wound up back in monogamy. And
But it's a choice.
totally,
That's the thing. Like, it's whatever the healthy relationship is for you.
for sure. And
Right.
we're not here to say what's right, what's wrong, what's better. We
Yeah.
don't think non-monogamy is better. I think it's what works for the person or people or the situation, right? Because it could be non-monogamy is right for me, but my life doesn't allow for it, and so I'm monogamous, right? Like
Right.
whatever it is. And we're not here to judge that. So we're just grateful that you came on to share.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I suppose we'll let you have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk soon for part 2. We don't know when, but it will happen.
Yes, I would love that. Yes. Yeah, thank you guys for having me. And just for all the work that you guys do. In the beginning of this whole journey, I found y'all's podcast, and I think hearing other people explore and have different iterations of non-monogamy and their life didn't end and blow up completely was just comforting to know that we're not completely crazy and there are other people who have tried this. So, y'all's podcast was definitely a comfort in those early days.
Oh, good.
Wonderful.
Good. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Sharing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was so much of our motivation for starting this. So glad.
Yeah.
So again, thank you, Carrie, for coming on, for sharing. Thank you, Drew, for all of your support and for working your ass off. Couldn't be here tonight, but thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you guys tonight.
Awesome. Well, have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk soon.
You too.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Carrie and Drew, for coming on, sharing your story, and for just the vulnerable conversation. These things are not always easy to talk about, and it's so great that you came on and shared. So thank you.
Yes, thank you from my side as well. I just loved how, I don't know, just how much Carrie unpacked some of the purity culture, the pressure, what was going on for her. So thank you again, Carrie, for coming on. Thank you, Drew, for all of your support. And, as Carrie said towards the end, we might get a Drew specific episode coming up. So Drew, this is your official invitation. It's in the mail, and we hope to see you.
A couple of quick reminders here. One is our next monthly community workshop is coming up next week on September 10th. It's called Playful Connections, Building Stronger Relationships Through the Joy of Play with Gary Ware. And our next in-person community retreat is coming up in the East Bay, California. That's outside San Francisco, October 3rd to the 5th, 2025. You can find out more information about both of those things and our community over on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community tab.
And next week, you would never guess, but we have another interview coming up for you. It's going to be with Sonia and Steven. You might remember the name Sonia because Sonia's been on a few different episodes in the past. She was first on episode 196. Nope. I lied, 193. Emma hadn't scrolled fast enough to get to that part of the note.
193 and 388.
So you can check those out. She was on the podcast with her husband, Gabe. You do not have to have listened to those for next week's to be an incredible conversation, but you can if you want to be fully up to speed and to do all of your homework. So next week, Sonia and Steven, both community members, and we're super excited to share their story.
Yeah, and I think that's it.
That's all. We hope to see you. That's you, person who is listening, going, me? Yes, you, out here in San Francisco, October 3rd to the 5th. Find out more on the community tab of our website. We expect you to be here.
Yes.
All right.
We would love for you to be here.
We would. we would love it, and we expect it. Pressure.
I think that's it now.
That's it.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.